When you think of number 66, Bill Bergey, you should think of Hall of Fame middle linebackers Dick Butkus, Ray Nitschke, and Willie Lanier, because he hit just as hard and was just as fierce of a competitor as those guys. The man was intense. He was a huge middle linebacker at 6'4", 245 pounds, and when combined with a nasty attitude, he was more than a handful. He was the Bengals' 1969 second-round draft pick out of Arkansas State, where he averaged 19.8 tackles per game in 1968. He was the AFL's Defensive Rookie of the Year and made the Pro Bowl, the first of 5 times in his 12-year career. Bengals were an expansion team in 1968, and they wanted respect. Bill Bergey was cut from the same cloth of the Chicago Bears monsters of the Midway ringleader Dick Butkus. Essentially the same size, both utilized punishing hits and roughhouse tactics that were designed to intimidate their opponents. They wanted to get inside their heads and take them out of their comfort zone. Both players demanded respect and got it. It didn't matter if the ball carrier had already scored and was 6 yards deep into the end zone, you were still going to have to pay. Guys would get alligator rolled, then worked over before the officials would come to their rescue. Or how about a shot to the ribs after you've scored? Cincinnati's Riverfront Stadium opened in 1970, and Bill Bergey was the main attraction. Oilers quarterback Charlie Johnson made a poor decision when he threw this pass up for grabs. It was one of 27 for Bill Bergey, 6th most all-time for a linebacker. During the last 7 games of the 1970s season, the Bengals' defense really showed their teeth as they limited their opponents to a total of 78 points, an average of just over 11 per game. They won every game after losing each of the 6 prior games. They won the AFC Central Division and played the Baltimore Colts in the divisional playoff round. The Colts soundly defeated the Bengals 17-0 as the Bengals could only muster 7 first downs and 139 yards of offense. The Colts would go on to defeat the Dallas Cowboys 16-13 in the Super Bowl. Bengals head coach Paul Brown was the head coach of the Cleveland Browns when Miami Dolphins head coach Don Shula was a player for them in 1951 and 1952. The Browns lost to the Rams in the 1951 NFL Championship game and to the Lions in the 1952 NFL Championship game. The Dolphins and Bengals met in the 1973 divisional playoffs, but the Bengals were outmatched again. The Dolphins pounded the Bengals 34-16. Like the 1970 Colts, the 1973 Dolphins won the Super Bowl. In April 1974, Berge signed a futures contract to play in the World Football League following the 1975 NFL season. Berge made $37,000 in 1973, and the World Football League offered him a 3-year guaranteed $625,000 contract with an $80,000 signing bonus. Bengals owner Paul Brown was greatly upset and took Berge to court. His objection was that he didn't think it was right for a player to play for one team after being compensated by another. Brown lost the case as well as the appeal. However, the World Football League folded operations midway through the 1975 season, and Berge paid the signing bonus back. It didn't matter, because Paul Brown didn't want anything to do with Berge, so he traded him to the Philadelphia Eagles for their 1977 first-round draft pick, who ended up being defensive tackle Wilson Whitley, who started 79 games in 6 years. 1978 first-round pick, who was defensive end Ross Browner, who had a fine career with the Bengals after being a 2-time unanimous All-American at Notre Dame and being named a 2-time Lineman of the Year award winner. In 1977, he finished 5th in the Heisman Trophy voting. And the 1978 Eagles second-round pick, who was defensive back Ray Griffin, who was running back Archie Griffin's brother. Ray played 7 years and intercepted 11 passes. Philly football faithful fell in love with Bill Berge's tough guy, no-nonsense play. Hall of Fame player Mike McCormick, turned head coach, loved him too because Berge was not only dependable, he'd only missed 2 games in 5 years, but he was also a well-respected teammate who players gravitated towards. Berge got his teammates fired up by playing inspired football, and they didn't back down from anybody. After a 4-win, 1-loss start to the 1974 season, Eagles' playoff hopes blew away when they lost 6 straight games. A 3-game winning streak to close out the season resulted in a mediocre 7-7 season, but it was a great one for Berge because he finished second in the NFL Defensive Player of the Year award to Mean Joe Green. Berge huffed and puffed and blew 225-pound powerhouse John Brockington's house down. Not even a runaway gorilla scared Berge. During his NFL playing career, he performed a noble duty for his country. He served as a lieutenant in the United States Army Reserve. After the 1976 season, the Eagles switched to a 3-4 defense, and in 1978, after 5 straight first- or second-team All-Pro designated seasons, the Eagles made him the highest-paid defensive player in the NFL with a 4-year, $1 million deal. He suffered a serious knee injury in 1979 and only played in 3 games. In 1980, the Eagles beat the Vikings and Cowboys in the playoffs before losing to the Raiders in the Super Bowl. That was the last game that Berge played, and he did it with loose bone chips in one knee and bone spurs on both shoulders.